Hello everyone, welcome back to Car Body 2. So in today's video, we'll be utilizing the power surfacing add-in to actually build the car body. So one thing to note out is I just went in, I created a folder and I put all my 3 sketches in there and I renamed them. So if I click once and then click again, I can go in, left click, I can go in and rename my sketch or my feature. So I just went in and I renamed them top picture, side picture, and front picture. And I just created a folder and placed all 3 in there. So if you right click on one of them, you can add to new folder. So just select any of them, add a new folder, rename that folder, and then just select all 3 and drop them in there. I'm just trying to keep my tree a bit neater it's easier to navigate. So let's jump in. So the first thing we want to make sure we have added in is our power surfacing. So if you go to tools, and if we go all the way down to add-ins, so I have my power surfacing. So I'm just gonna activate that. So I'm just gonna click on it, make sure that's checked in, and hit OK. And usually that takes a bit to load. So jumping around. Okay, so I think that, so let's see, it should show up here. Okay, so you should give it a second till it's fully loaded in, and then now it's we can activate that tab. So we have our power surfacing added in, and then so we can just go to it, and then let's jump in and create a box. So I'm just gonna go either click here right here, or you can go to the drop down menu and click on create box. I have the free trial, but all the other computers, school computers, actually have the full license. So this pop-up should not show up on the school computers. So we get this overall sphere, basically a clay. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that clay and shape it into the car we want, or whatever object it is. It doesn't necessarily need to be a car, but in this case it is a car. So I'm just gonna go to my top view. Oh. So it seemed like it exited out. So let's jump back in there. Power surfacing, create box, and let's go to my top view. Oops, it's weird. Create box. Seems like every time I change my view, it actually exited out. But so I just went to my top view and I created the box. And what we're gonna try and do is trying to get this overall shape close to the car, to the overall outline of the car that we want to create the body of. So length is 10 inches. So let's see if we make that bigger. Let's go to 11. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so we might want to go a bit bigger. So if we go to 12, maybe 12.4 seems to work. Width-wise, I'm just gonna decrease that to 5, see what that looks like. So that looks okay. Maybe go down a bit. So 4.7 seems to work. And then the height, if I rotate, if I change that, let's go to 3. Now maybe if we go down, okay, so I'm just gonna go up till I have covered that outline, the top outline, so maybe 2.9. Our segments, just so we're gonna keep it simple for now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna have 2 segments of each, length, width, and height. So basically, the more segments you have, the more control you have over that geometry. But I mean, so with that being said, right, if you have like 20 segments, then it's going to be an issue to go and control that. It's just going to be very complex, and you might need to spend a lot of time doing that. But for now, for the goal of this video, I'm just going to keep it simple. Let's click OK. Okay, perfect. So I have my overall shape. So it doesn't look like a car yet, but we'll get there. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to flatten out those bottom faces. So let me just go and suppress that picture so I can see those faces and be able to select them. So if I go to my guide sketches, I'm just gonna, it's the top picture, just gonna right click and hide that. And now I'm able to go in and select them. So I'm just gonna hold down the control key and select those 4 faces. And I'm gonna right click somewhere. And this power surfacing menu shows up. So what command, the command I want to utilize is set the selected edge or edges to the maximum edge weight value of 100. So that basically says that what that command does is flatten out those 4 faces. So I'm going to click on it. And we can see that the 4 faces are, so that became basically one face and it's flat. So let's go in and try and resize this. So I'm gonna go to my front, and maybe I'm gonna select these. Let's go down. Oops. Right. I went down toward that top edge is from my picture. So actually I want this to be a bit lower. Maybe keep it at the center for now. Go up a bit. Let's see, let's highlight this end and maybe take that in to where the front bumper is. And we're going to do the same thing here. Select these 3 points and let's go in to wherever that back is. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically do the same thing. Let's keep it like this for now. Maybe one thing to do is let's make sure our bottom is within the outline. It seems like it was. I just wanted to double check, right? It's always good to double check. So that seems like it's a good spot. What I want to do next, right? So now I'm going to start thinking about the overall process of how I want to do this. So I don't want to, I might want to utilize the mirror command, right? So I want to create half of the car, maybe the driver's side, and just mirror the passenger side. And the reason I want to do this, I want to make sure that the car is symmetrical, right? So one way to do this is if we build half of the car and then mirror that about our front plane. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go to my front. Sorry, in this case it's my left view. I'm going to zoom in. Before I do that, I actually want to flatten out those faces. So again, same thing like we've done in the past. So I'm going to select those 4 faces. I'm going to right click. I'm going to set those edges to the maximum edge weight value of 100. As we can see, that face is flat. So let's go back to our left view. And what I want to do, I want to slide that in. Be going around here, so selecting those 4 points, maybe select those 2 points and go in just up right, just keep some distance. So that's where my middle plane is, and I just overlapped it a bit. set those faces coincident to that plane. So let's go ahead and do that. So now what I want to do, so let's see, I'm going to select those 4 faces, hold down the control key, and then I'm going to select my top plane. Oh, not my top plane, my front plane. And I want to go to, so if I'm in the power surfacing tab, and I'm just going to go to alignment up here. Let's click on that. And I want to utilize the snap to plane. So what that does is basically takes those 4 faces and snaps it to the selected plane. So that's perfectly in the center with respect to that plane. So when we mirror those that car body, we're not going to have any issues with that. So you always want to think about the overall process. Okay, now let's try and get this car body shape to look like an actual car. So maybe I'll go back to my front view, and I want to, so right now at this point I don't have a lot of control over the overall geometry. So what I want to do is maybe go in there and add more control. So if I hold down the A key on my keyboard, I can actually create lines that snap to those horizontal lines. So maybe we'll have a, let's see. So let's have a line here, maybe a line here. Actually, let's keep it simple. Let's maybe a line here, keep it equal distance. Okay, so I just basically, so more, those vertical lines will give me more control to basically shape that car. So let's select these 4 points. I'm just gonna go down a bit. Okay, and I'm gonna select those 3 points. I'm gonna go down. I'm going to select those 2 points, go down a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select that whole row. I'm going to go down. Maybe that. Go a bit. Select these 2. Go in a bit. Maybe select these 2 and then with the overall geometry. At this point, it's basically just going in, and as you can notice, the more control, the more lines I have, the more control I have to get that geometry to look the way I want it, but the more time I will be spending on this. So for the purpose of this video, we're just trying to show the overall overview of the power surfacing. So again, I'm just going to go back in here and maybe go down. Select these 3. Select these 2. Select this one. Go down. We select these 2 and try to go in a bit. Okay, so the overall shape, right? It's starting to look like a car. So I want to do the same thing, right? So let's look at it from the top view. Let's see. So what I want to do is I want to unhide my top picture. Since the power surfacing command, so let me exit out of it. So what it's going to do is actually going to go in and build that solid. So we're going to jump back in there. So I just want to unhide that. I want to show that top picture. And I'm going to go to my power feature. I'm going to edit feature to jump back in there. So let's see. So I'm going to select these points, and let's see, let's try to go in to where that outline of the car is. Excuse me. Maybe select these 4, go in a bit more, select these 3, go in a bit more, select these 2. Right, we're not moving much, but let me select these 2. Okay, same thing here. So yeah, I'll select these 4, go in a bit, select these 3 next. These 2, maybe select these 2. Push it in a bit if you want. So I kind of have my overall shape of the car. Again, we can come to the left view and do the same thing. We come in here. I'm just gonna try and keep it simple for now. But again, with the more lines you add, the more control you have. So if you have a very complex geometry, or you have a car that you want to build that has very complex geometry, then you want to add more control lines, right? You want to spend the time to try and get, so the more time you spend, the more control lines you have, the more accurate of a result you will get. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna try and keep it simple. So let's go ahead and click OK for now. So I have my overall shape. So let's go in and hide my guide sketches. So I'm going to select all 3, right click, hide. So I have my kind of my rough shape of the car, right? So what I want to do next is I mean, the whole purpose of just building that 1/2, right, is just so we can mirror it, so the car is symmetric. So let's go ahead and mirror that. So what I want to utilize is actually a bodies to mirror, since this is a body. It's not a face, it's not a feature, it's a body. So bodies to mirror. Let's go ahead, click on that drop menu and select that body. So the mirror face plane, again, we talked about this. So it's going to be our front plane, and there's the preview. Right, so we can show full preview. Let's click OK. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and file, save. So I have my car body outline. So now we want to start thinking about, okay, how are we going to make this? So at Monroe Community College, so we're going to utilize 3D printers to actually 3D print the body. So obviously we don't want to 3D print this with the overall filled, 100% filled material. Also, you want it to fit over your car that you've actually been machining. So let's go ahead and utilize our shell. So I want to shell my bottom, and I want to shell it 1/16. Nice thing about SolidWorks, either you can put 0.0625, or you can actually just write whatever the, so 1/16, and let SolidWorks do the math. And you can look at the preview. Click OK. So we have our starting to look like something we can use. Let's go ahead. I'm going to keep saving just in case something happens, right? We're utilizing a new tool, new add-in. So with more complex geometry, you might want to start thinking about, okay, I'll save every step or two just to make sure you don't lose anything. What we want to do now is let's create the cutouts for the wheel. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my side picture. Let's show that. And I'm going to change the transparency for this part. So if I right click on my power feature, I'm just going to change the transparency. I'm not sure if it did anything. So let's do this. That's weird. Okay, let's go to this view. I want to start a sketch on my front plane. Maybe what I want to do is actually, I'm just going to hide this for now. And I'm just going to create I'm going to use my circle command. It's going to create the cutouts. Just want to get it as close. So maybe take that center, move it to where you think looks best. I'm going to do the same thing here. And one thing we can do is we can make these equal, right? So if I click on this circle and hold the control key, select that one, and just make them equal. Just add a relation between the two. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create an extrude cut, and I'm just going to do through all in both directions. Let's go back to my model. And let's go do an extrude cut. Let's do a blind. I'm just gonna drag that arrow so it extrudes, and I'm gonna add a second direction. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Perfect. So that seems to work better. So what I want to do now, let me move this back in. Click here. So we have more space. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna take my side picture. I'm gonna hide it again. Let's go ahead and save at this point. So that looks much better than the first clay we had, right? Again, you can get it more precise with more control lines and the more time you spend on it. What I want to do now is let's go ahead and add some fillets. I'm going to select this edge. Let's do full preview. So 10 thou. So that works. Maybe, sorry, 100 thou. Maybe 150. And let's go ahead and do all 4 edges. Select all 4. Let's go ahead and click OK. Okay, so that looks much better. Again, you can change that radii to whatever you think works best. So let's go ahead and save. So I keep saving just in case something happens. So we're going to be utilizing ABS for our material. So let's go ahead and go to edit material. And it's not steel. It's going to be in plastic. So let's go ahead, plastic. Let's choose ABS. So that's white. Maybe we want to change the overall appearance of it. Maybe we want it to be, let's see, textured. Let's go, maybe we want it to be green. Yeah, so that looks much better. I'm just gonna rotate around, make sure I didn't miss anything. Go in, I have my shell. So what I want to do now is actually I want to create some configuration. So let's go ahead and do, because when I 3D print it, I want to have the two different passenger side and driver side. So I'm just going to go in and maybe rename this main. Maybe add a configuration that's driver side. Click OK. And let's go ahead and actually start a cut on my front plane. Start a sketch. Oh. What I want to do, I basically want to cut half of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a corner and rectangle. And I'm going to extrude cut the passenger side. Okay, so that's my driver side. Maybe go to my add configuration. Let's do passenger side. Sure. And what I'm gonna do for this extrude cut, I'm gonna flip it around. So I'm gonna go in, edit feature. Let's change the direction of that. So I have my main. Oh. I have my main, my passenger side, and so one thing to do, let's go in and so edit feature. Oops, there's an issue with some of the add-ins I have, and so what I want to do is I want to make sure it's just for this configuration. So in this case, this is the driver's side. So what I want to do, edit feature, let's turn that around, and it's only for this configuration. Let's jump into my passenger side. That should be all set. My main, sorry, there's just an issue with one of my add-ins. Again, we can go back and change the appearance. It can be maybe black or whatever we like. Let's go ahead and save. And we're all set. Thank you for watching.